All right, this video is talking about multi-line text and single-line text. What is the difference? So basically in the Home tab, there is a shortcut. That's going to be this button right here, and it has the option for multi-line text and single-line text. And I mean, you can see through the text that I basically preset for the video, looking at it, there's no obvious difference, right? But it's all in how it's all handled. So multi-line text, if I hover over it, you'll see it says mtext, and that's the code for starting multi-line text. And you can see that all three lines are being highlighted. And if I do the same thing over on the other side, it just says text, and only that line that I'm hovering over is highlighted. So that's one of the first main differences, is that single line text is recognized as text, that's the keyboard shortcut, and multi-line text is recognized as mtext, and that is its keyboard shortcut. So you can see that if I click on multi-line text, it's all treated as one object. Hit escape here. And if I click on the single line text, each line is treated as its own object. All right, so, and writing them is, the same for both. Starting them is a little bit different on both sides. So I'm just going to undo this and show you what the main difference is. So multi-line text is the easiest. That's what everybody should be using. And it's easy to go back to. So what I'm going to do with multi-line text first, specify a corner. So I'm going to left click, drag out a box, and left click to set that box. Once I have my text field and I got my cursor blinking, then I do have options over here to change the text height. Right now it's 0.2, slightly less than 1/4 of an inch. So I can just say, I'm just going to put multi-text. And when I hit enter, I'm going to say line 2, hit enter, line 3, right? And when I'm all done, I can left click outside and my text is all set. Now the cool thing about multi-text is that I can double left click and I can highlight a particular line, or I can highlight all of the lines, and I can say, let's do this. Let's highlight line 2 in the middle, and I'm going to click once into the height, and let's do 0.5. So you can see that I can change that. If I go into line 3, highlight line 3, then maybe I want to pick a different font. So I will go here, and let's do something that'll be kind of obvious. Bank Gothic, there we go. That looks a little bit different, right? So you've got all these options. You've got same justification options, just like you do to any other word processing program like Word or even PowerPoint for that matter. You have your quick justification here, center, left justified, right justified, fully justified, and then back to your regular. You can also create columns. So if you have a lot of text, what you can do is create dynamic columns or static columns. Static columns, you basically have to tell it, I want 2 columns or 3 columns. Dynamic columns, you can actually kind of just drag certain grips, and it'll create the columns for you based on what you drag, which is a nice element there. Adding symbols, right? So maybe we need to add. Let me do this. I'm gonna go space bar, add a space. And I can add degree symbol or a plus and minus or a diameter or any one of these others. And if you don't have a symbol that's in here, you can click on other, and that'll open up the character map, and GDT, perfect. That's the one that you would typically have. And so here are the symbols for counterbore, countersink, and depth. So maybe I click on depth. I'll select that. I'll copy it, and then I can Control V. Oops. Copy that down, left click inside my text box, Control V to place that in there. So now I've got these other symbols. If you recall, any one of these symbols, they've got these codes, right? So %% %D, %% %P, So maybe I want to put a centerline symbol somewhere, or make a couple of spaces so I can actually type in %% and it makes, my degree mark. Or I can go %%C and it makes my diameter symbol. So you don't necessarily have to go to the symbol button to place these symbols. You can actually type in the code and it'll transfer that over automatically. Nice thing about multi-line text, or another nice thing about multi-line text, you've got all the same, bolding, you've got italics, you've got strike throughs, underlines and overlines. Let's see, superscripts, right? And subscripts. And what's this one? Changing case, right? Going uppercase versus lowercase, right? So let's say that I had 13th, right? That number, something like that. I would highlight the TH and I would make it a superscript. So kind of a nice, neat little thing. Just left click out of it and we're all set. Now this looks like the line type is getting in the way a little bit, or the line weight. So I'm just going to deselect line weight. That way we can see this a little bit clearer. With single line text, it's a little different. Single line text, click on it, select single line. We start with the cursor. Where are we going to place our cursor? So I'm going to left click, right? And then all of a sudden we have not a text box, but we have commands, right? So the command line is asking us specify the height, right? So what is the height of our text? So we kind of have to know by default what that's going to be. If not, you can always use the default, which is 0.2. So I'm going to say 0.25. Let's make it a 1/4 inch. Hit enter. Then specify the rotation angle of the text. So 0 means it's going out to the right. That's a 0 degree angle. If we were to say 90 degree angles, that means our text would be rotated vertically, being read from the bottom to the top. So we want 0, so I'm going to hit enter. And now we get a blinking cursor. And this is single line text. And this is line 2. Hit enter, line 3. And then when you're done, when you left click outside, it gives you yet another cursor. So now basically you just have to hit escape to get out of that. All right, so a little bit more cumbersome, but what this allows us to do is I can now click and drag each line individually to wherever it needs to go. And this is perfect for when you're creating labels and you have a whole bunch of labels on a drawing. Basically, you use single line text and just hit enter in between each line. Let's say you're doing something with electronics and you've got resistor 1, resistor 2, resistor 3, all the way to resistor 15. Well, you can make each line its own resistor and number, right? And then you can place R12 and just drag that one over to where it goes. And R13, drag that to where it goes. Resistor number 8, drag that to where that goes. The only difference now is if I double left click, right, you can still sort of change the text and, add. And but you'll notice that you will not get the toolbar for additional text. So you're kind of out of luck there a little bit. So best thing to do is, of course, use the multi-line text. There are ways to kind of edit it, but once it's set, it's pretty much set. Okay, that is multi-line versus single line. And the other thing that you guys need to know is if we go to the, let's see, annotate tab, all right? Under the annotate tab, this is where text actually lives. This is the control panel, the original control panel for text. And you can see drop down, we have text scale. That's really the only other option that we have. With all of these panels, all right, I shouldn't say all, most of these panels, what you'll notice is they have these little side arrows. All right, so there is one for text, there is one for dimensions, there is one for leaders, there's one for tables. These are your style arrows. All right, and what I mean by that is it opens up a window that will control the style of all text. The dimension style arrow here will control the style of all dimensions and all leaders and all tables that you might have in your drawing. So if I click on the text style arrow, right now I can see that in my styles box I have two styles. I have an annotative style and I have a standard style. They look the same. Annotative looks the same as standard for right now. The difference is that standard scale is going to be very straightforward. Okay, so if your text height is a 1/4 inch, your standard style text is 1/4 inch. If you're making it an inch, it's an inch. If it's 5 inches, it's 5 inches. If it's 1/8 of an inch, the text height is 1/8 of an inch. With annotative, an annotative text will have, not text, but anything that's annotative will have this little trident type or this 3-star symbol next to it, meaning that the text or whatever that element is annotative, which means that it can scale itself based on an annotative scale, right? So I'm not going to get into it right now because it can be very, very confusing if you're still trying to get a handle on regular text and using all these options, because it can be very confusing. So stay away from annotative for right now and use standard styles. So basically we're just saying that, our font, you can choose a font name, a font style that is, bold, italic, or regular, or, maybe semi-bold or something like that. Again, we don't want to set it to annotative, so we want to make sure that this is checked off. And the height here should be 0. And a lot of first timers make their mistake because what they'll do is they'll set a height to, maybe 1/4 of an inch or 0.2 or 0.100. And then when they find out that, they're trying to change the size of the text, they're not able to. So whatever you do in this window is the master for all the text that you're going to be using in this drawing or in this template, depending on how you have this set. So the height should always be set to 0. Okay. Then you've got some special effects, upside down or backwards, width factor, oblique angles. Again, nothing really too much that you have to worry about per se. But if I wanted to create a different style of text for my title block, let's say, so I would say, all right, let's create new. And I'm going to say TB text, right, for title block text. And I'm going to hit OK. And there it is. And I can say, well, for my title block text, I want something a little bit different. Let's see, what's a City Blueprint? I like that font a lot. A little funky. And I want the regular style. And again, the text height, I'm going to keep 0. And this will allow me to make changes on the text height on the fly if I need to. Right? So I'm just going to hit apply. There we go. And then I'm going to hit close. So now what happens is if I go to my my text option, right, I've got my 3 options. I got my annotative, my standard, and my title block text. So if I click on title block text, select multi-line, move this over a little bit, and we'll create my text. This is my TB text. And let me just shorten up the window and left click outside, and I'm all done. All right, so I'm using this text, and like I said, I can double click on the text, I can highlight it, and I can change the size to, let's go 0.5. Okay, so again, this is kind of running and wrapping around. So all I have to do here is just grab this little diamond, and I've made room for it. I'm going to take the same text, go back into my text style manager, and I'm going to fix it at 1/4 inch, right? So 0.25, and I'm going to hit apply and close. And if I use my multi-line text one more time, I'm going to drag out my box, and this is, whoops, this is TB text fixed at 0.25. All right, so click. So this should be locked in. So if I'm double clicking, and let's see if we can change the options here. So remember, as I did 0.5. I actually changed it. Okay, that is strange because usually that would be fixed. Unless that's something new that they changed in this version, in the 2020 version. But previously, it was something you cannot change. Either that or it's fixed in the dimension style. I think that's it. So I'm just going to quickly jump over just to verify something here. And if I go to my text window, so well, it looks like they changed it. All right, so that's good. So that makes things a little bit easier. But just out of habit, in case you get stuck with an old version, that text is going to be locked down and you won't be able to change it. So looks like they changed that for the 2020 version. So I'm just going to go back and change this back to 0. That way I don't have to worry because that has been the standard for years and years and years and years. Okay, so again, changing back to standard, you can do that just by selecting standard, and then you have to select the line tool again to start typing. Under the Home tab, if I go to multi-line text, I don't have the option to switch text styles per se. So make sure that if you want to, and if you're creating different text styles for different things, that you do it from the Annotate tab, and then you'll see those options at the very, very top. Okay, so that is multi-line, single line, and text styles.